check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to NFL Picks for Horse Racing Players. Our man Jared is back from Hawaii after he went over there and wreaked havoc on the volcanoes. What's up, Jared?
What's going on?
I see you're on your couch there. You're not feeling well, so you're a trooper, my man. Coming through, like you're like the postman of picks. Rain, sleet, shine, no matter what, you're here.
Hey, I'm trying to take over the new dog title, here. I'm trying to keep the flow going and make our viewers some cash. So do what you got to do for the team,
I think maybe that vitamin D down there helped you out a little bit, brother, because you went down there, that natural vitamin D helped you out. You were on a hot streak, and then you came back right away, and you stubbed your toe on the Eagles last night. You climbed to the top of the mountain.
I know, man. That was a tough beat, just one of those,
Yes.
That's why they play the games, but, so close, but just an inch off perfection,
Yes, in the NFL, close as a hand grenade to your bankroll, my man.
There you go.
I got to say, Jared, you're about the only dude I've ever seen that goes to Hawaii for 2 weeks and comes back more pale than he left, man.
Dude, actually, it's all over here, bro. All the burn is up in here and here and here, and it was a little up here, I was at the SPF 65, man. That's some strong Hawaiian sun if you don't watch yourself. So
I thought maybe you had on SPF Corpse or something.
Yeah. Did you guys like that video feed with my shades and all? Poolside?
Yeah, we thought it was interesting in a lot of different ways. Did you watch the show? All right, so let's get to let's do what we always do around here. Let's get started where we left off last week. Let's look at how we did last week with our picks. All right, I got to blow them up a little bit. I always forget because it's right in front of me, but on the screen's another story, right? So 150. Can you see Jared's picks? I got to make it a little bigger there.
Yeah, I'll do like 175 maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't go in increments like that. All right, there's Jared and his handsome self in blue with the Nike on. Just do it. He just did it last week, making $468.29. The big winner for him coming through is those Seahawks, counting for 258, 4 units at minus 155. So way to go, Jared, in the plus column, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then our man, Sean, a little bit tougher week. He was doing all right until he ran into the Bills and the Bengals. And unfortunately, I feel like I spoke it into existence for you on those Bills, Sean. I said they'd be up by 17, and then...
Yeah, they dominated that game for a while, and it looked like they could win by as much as they wanted to, and then it just was that end of I knew at that point the hook of the 10 was coming into play, and I was going to be on the wrong side of that.
It's not really a hook. You ever seen the Beavis and Butthead?
I've seen Beavis and Butthead, but which
I don't want you to win, baby.
With Beavis and Butthead, they talk about kick them in the Jimmy.
Yeah,
that's what that hook is, man. It's a Jimmy. It's definitely
that's what it feels like.
Absolutely, 100%. See, we keep it G-rated right around here. It's interesting about one game on here is that you had the Falcons minus 200. Sean had the Falcons minus 4. I had Carolina plus 4, and somehow 2 out of 3 of us won. Sean, unfortunately, being the odd man out there, and then. That kicker from Carolina, he must have played your bets, Jared, because he kept missing everything, Eddie Pinero.
I saw that. That we're one extra point of a missed extra point, and I'm on the other side of the coin. So it just goes to show you how unpredictable the NFL is.
It should have never even got to that point, right? I thought the Falcons won the game. I was changing to other games and then all of a sudden I look and Carolina's tied and 1. It's like, how did they get the touchdown? And 2, how did they not win the game? So.
Well, the guy ripped off his helmet, DJ Moore, and they gave him a penalty. And the next day out, they came and said the NFL, they should not have done that. All right. So then for me, myself, I'm up $200. Won with the Panthers, even though the field goal kicker was, trying to go along with Jared. Lost with those stinking Giants because Richie James Jr. has got some slippery fingers out there. Maybe trying to catch the flying salmon or whatever it is they throw up there in those Seattle markets. And slicked up his hands a bit. Titans came through for me. Broncos, they're off this week, so I don't get to keep the betting on the Broncos streak alive. And then the Bengals and the Browns, another game where the field goal kicker wreaked havoc on the outcome. I think what did they miss? 2 field goals, an extra point, and a couple turnovers deep. They left at least 10 points on the field. So what are you going to do? At halftime, I thought there was no chance, but I was grateful at the end. So the year-to-date totals, it doesn't include this week, but they are our year-to-date totals, which are important, for at least for us. We like to keep track around here. We're not like other degenerates that just put our picks up and expect you to go look them up. We put them up for everybody to see. And in week number 8, we had a pretty substantial profit, 553 as a team. As mentioned, Jared was up. And then on the year, Jared momentarily climbed to the top of the mountain, took the lead. Well, he just had a fantastic last 2 weeks. But like I said, came home, stubbed his toes on those Eagles on another hook, another kick to the Jimmy, another Beavis and Butthead kick.
But I should have played the under last night. That was my really on saver, But what are you gonna do? They say 14.5. You get the 14. That's Vegas working against you. So what are you gonna do?
Well, you know what it is, Jared. It's just tough. When you get to the top of the hill, you ever see the people in those like Mount Everest videos? It's slippery up there. It's windy up there. Being at the top of the hill is only for the most hardy, brother. So you need a little bit of calisthenics, a little bit of cardio if you're going to stay up there, my friend.
A little bit of a kick in the balls to get yourself back on track. Yeah, I got you.
I'll just say I'm glad you guys are carrying me here.
Yes, our backs do hurt. I was quite literally having back spasms this morning when I got out of bed. And that's not I'm not kidding. I did. I was like, what the hell? I'm like, oh, this must be from carrying Sean on the NFL show.
I take it just like I take it horse race. You got to go with your guns when you're hot. You got to ride the hot streak. So that's how I play it. But, Sean's more Sean's methodical. You're more methodical, but that's okay because we're all working together as a team here. So.
And as a team, good segue there. We're up $1,281.46. So if you took all of our bets, all of our units, $100 today, your account would be sitting on a little more than $1,200, almost $1,300 in profits. That ain't too bad, fellas.
No, I'm sure there's a lot of people, including this guy, that wish that was the case.
Well, maybe you ought to start fading. If you faded yourself and played us, you'd be king.
Yeah, it's just true.
All right, so now we're going to move off to week number 9. Let's take a look at our picks here. Let's get started. As I mentioned last night, Jared took the Eagles in the over for the first half, 14.5. They got 14, so unfortunately for Jared, it's an L. That was a 3-unit L, by the way, so it moves them back into second place. Like I said, you really have to have some endurance. You got to be kind of hardy, a little bit more of the sturdy type to stand at the top of the hill, Jared. But this week, we're going to start off with you with the Lions. You're going to take the Lions versus the Packers. You got the Lions plus 3.5. I'm going to take the Packers minus 3.5. Head cold and all, make your case, brother.
We still don't. We've seen. For now, almost 8 weeks now, we've seen that the absence of Davante Adams has hindered Aaron Rodgers' production. We're not seeing it on the offensive side of the ball. Yes, Green Bay is keeping themselves somewhat in games with their running game, and that's probably what they're going to be going to against Detroit. But Detroit can counteract this Green Bay team and run them into submission with a 2-pronged attack. We got St. Armand going this week. He's back. We got Jamal Adams has been killing it lately for the Detroit Lions. I really see the Detroit Lions running the ball effectively against this Green Bay team this week. And I really think this is going to, even though this is a divisional game, I really like the Lions in this spot this week. So I am strong on the Lions this week. So that's why I'm going with the Lions to cover this spread this week.
For me, I think the Packers are close, and they're getting closer game by game. Thought they played pretty well, although Von Miller did ask Aaron Rodgers, apparently, why are you guys running the ball so damn much? I expect that you'll see them continue to run the ball, but I do think you'll start to see a little bit more chemistry between Aaron Rodgers, and it looks like Dobbs finally learned how to catch some passes. They got that Tonin kid who made a nice big play for them. He's also starting to get a little bit more chemistry with the tight end, Robert Toinin. And they're getting some nice passes out of the backfield to Aaron Jones as well. I think you're going to see Green Bay do what Green Bay always does, and that's kick Detroit in the Jimmy. What do you think, Sean?
So, yeah, I wouldn't trust either team at this point, but I do agree with you, and I've been anti-Green Bay all year. This Romeo Dobbs is coming around a little bit, and if he could turn into something, that will change a little bit on the Green Bay side. So I would be scared of that because they did play a little better last week with Buffalo with that. So Detroit's defense is the issue.
Do they play defense?
That's the issue there. So I wouldn't touch it. And I don't know if Green Bay's ready yet to go in on the road and beat somebody by more than a field goal too.
But Green Bay's run defense is garbage. Let's face it. The Bills ran up over 200 yards of rushing offense on them last week. I mean, that's the kryptonite for this Packers squad right now. It's been their problem all season. Their run defense stinks, and that's going to be Detroit's go-to. So that's why I really think this is a good spot for the Lions this week. But
the real Jared Goff has stood up. Eminem used to say, "Will the real Slim Shady please stand up?" Well, the real Jared Goff has stood up.
Yeah, he is standing up, Rich. And the other thing that Detroit's got going in their favor, they've covered this spread every single week this season. I'm not going against the spread against this Detroit team this week. This is a good spot for them.
No, that I will look up those stats, but that's
I think you've actually been on the wrong side of that.
That's not accurate.
Yeah, no, it's not accurate.
If I'm not accurate,
not running back there either, but that's okay.
Okay,
all right.
I'm going to find that out right now. Detroit is. Well, see, I have to go pretty far down. Detroit is actually 3-4 against the spread.
3-4. Okay, I apologize, Sean. Thank you for the correction, my friend.
No problem. It's the head cold. All right, next up, we got the Vikings and the Commanders. Sean, you're all over the Purple People Eaters here against the Commanders, who did eke out a win against the Indianapolis Colts last week. You don't think they stand up to what looks like one of the better teams in the NFC right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real quiet 6-1 the Vikings are being. And for the Vikings and Kirk Cousins, the best thing they could do is stay out of, the media and stuff, because as soon as somebody gets on them is when they start to fade. So I like them.
But now that the Brady Giselle stuff is over, now they're going to get focused back on football, and the Vikings might move to the top of that list.
Yeah. Washington's good. I like Washington with the quarterback change. I think they're a better team, but they're still not there. And Minnesota's just been playing solid week in and week out. Giving up a field goal here, I think they're the better team, and they'll show that pretty early and often on Sunday.
Yeah, I would expect Justin Jefferson to have a pretty substantial game in this game. And I do also think that you'll see Dalvin Cook get off as well. So I can see them being pretty efficient on offense. And that, is that Commanders offense struggles to score. So I can see the Vikings winning this game pretty easily.
Yeah, that's the thing. Since the quarterback change, offense has been better, but they're still very limited on offense.
So they've gone from 13 points a game to 13.7 points a game.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not even
better.
It's not even that the offense is all that much better. I think they just play a little bit more grittier and better as a team than when Wentz was in, but still, they're not going to beat a good team like the Vikings. Still, under the radar, playing well. So,
all right. Well, next up on your pick list is the Chargers and the Falcons. So I love the way Sean operates, man. He's got to be the quickest person in history to jump on and off bandwagons. 2 weeks ago, you can't bet against last week, you can't bet against the Falcons ever. They lose for them. All the hell with that. Give me the Chargers.
No, this really comes down to the Chargers having a bye week, and I think they'll find themselves a little bit more. And Atlanta's still banged up now. They seem to be going.
They're going to get probably Cordell Patterson back this week. I think that could be.
They're going to get Cordell Patterson back this week. Yeah,
that will be a big thing. But as long as the Chargers, I think you go back to the chalkboard on your bye week here. Their offense is just so much better, and the Falcons' defense is not good. The Falcons are good offensively, running the ball down people's throats. But I think the Chargers spread Atlanta out here and just score at will. It will really come down.
Me a little about the Chargers, though, Sean.
No Mike Williams this week. I don't think Mike Williams
or Keenan Williams is not playing either, but they're both of those guys have been in and out. But Keenan Allen, yeah. Looking at this, the one thing that scares me about the Chargers, Sean, is they find a way to screw things up. I guess we'll stick with the theme that with the start. They find a way at the end of the game to kick you into Jimmy.
Yeah, well, they do that, and they also do the whole red zone thing where they're constantly settling for field goals, or
And I think
last year
field
that
goal
thing
kicker's out this week too, so that really
Yeah.
could be a negative.
So Atlanta's defense, I just have a hard time picturing them being able to stop the Chargers. And we've seen it it's been working, but with the Falcons' run game, they're also limited with the passing. Eventually, you're not going to be able to go point for point with a team just running the ball down their throat. So
No, that's kind of tough to do.
Yeah, giving up 3, it's really off the bye week. I just think the Chargers should be able. We know how much talent the Chargers have, but week in and week out, like you said, they struggle or they do something stupid. I'm just hoping after the bye week they corrected a lot of that and
A few less stupids this week, yeah.
yeah.
Sure. All right, the Packers and the Lions, we covered that one already. Now off to my other pick against the spread, Tennessee Titans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City rolling in. Actually, a friend of mine is going to be at that game this weekend. I tried to get a ticket too, but he wouldn't get me one. So I guess he's really not that good of a friend. But the Titans plus 12.5. I think the line opened up at like 10, jumped up to 12.5. There's some questions about, is Tannehill going to play? Questions about, is Derrick Henry going to play? It took him off the injury report today on Friday. I know that the Chiefs can win this game by 30 if they're coming off the bye too. But got to say, the Titans don't have a bad defense. Titans could run the ball, so I think they can effectively try to manage the clock. I know if Tannehill doesn't play, that the defenses are probably going to stack the line of scrimmage, but I got to suspect that every week Tennessee faces teams that stack to try to stop the running game, and they don't do it. I can see this game much like that Buffalo-Green Bay game. I can see that Kansas City's up 17, with the game kind of settled and over, and the Titans with a couple of minutes left in the game score a meaningless touchdown to get it down to 10, and everybody who took them at the opening line, is hopefully doesn't have the hook and they cover. So I think 12.5 is just way too many.
My concern here would be if Tannehill is out, you're going to have the rookie Malik Willis in
Willis is the starter
Kansas
this
City.
week.
I don't think they've made that announcement yet.
I guarantee you Willis will be the starter this week.
Oh, we got a guarantee now. But just on the road in Kansas City, that would scare me. But this theory for you is kind of the same as the over and under once you get to a certain number. And with the last 2 weeks, you had Buffalo, you had Thursday with Houston. There should have been no way. If you visualize the team, Houston ain't covering 14 points against the Eagles, and they did. So I can see why you're taking the points.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a point in the NFL where you get to, and there's no question. This one makes me pretty nervous because I can see the Chiefs being up 14-0 like that, right? And then where are you at?
Then those 12.5 means nothing.
I think that's really the strategy. Andrew Reid's had a week and a half to prepare for this game. He knows that their bread and butter is Derrick Henry. I think I'm going with the under in this game, as I think there's going to be some problems with Tennessee getting some scores and keeping up with the offense. However, I think it's one of those situations where the Chiefs will try to break out to an early lead, establish a lead, and then it's got to be Tennessee to try to play catch up to try to get to those points. I think this line it opened up initially at 46.5, Rich, or did it drop from that point? I think
it actually might have moved down a little bit.
Moved down a little bit.
I don't remember it correctly, but I don't remember exactly. But when I was going through the numbers, let me see where it opened up again. So the NFL, let me see if I popped the right one open. No, I did not. Let's see. In that game, it looked like the Kansas City, it opened up at 46.5, and it's kind of looks like it's dropping down 46, a little bit. Yeah.
46. Yeah. I think it's a little bit high, and I think it may be a little bit hard to obtain. So I think we're a little bit more safer on the underside of this. I think it's going to come in a little bit short on the numbers. And I think if Kansas City can establish that early lead, they're probably going to take the pedal off the metal for that second half of the game and sit back a little bit. And it's going to be a kind of more of a catch-up game. And if I'm right, and Willis is the starter, he may make a couple of mistakes that create some turnovers. But
I think that actually works against your cause.
No, actually, I don't, because I think that Kansas City is going to have some issues still on their own, and he was still trying to define what this defense is, and they're still having their problems holding up. So I still think we're going to come in slightly under. And so that's why I went with the under.
So my concern there is Kansas City usually doesn't take the pedal off the metal very much. So that would be
because they can't run the ball there. They left no option but to throw.
Yeah. And then, Andy Reid coming off bye as far as but the spread that shouldn't play, he's 20-3 off a bye week. So the team's going to be sharp. But you're still getting that 12.5. So, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me what it is.
That one does worry me because I have a feeling I'm going to be behind at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then you got to catch up.
Yeah, and if it is 14-0 in the first quarter, like you said, then you're starting to think, okay, now Tennessee's got to beat Kansas City the rest of the game because now it just erases that. So that is the scary part. But I hope
much like that game last night that Tennessee scores first, come out on that opening drive, scores
there
first.
You go.
And now you got 19.5 points to work with. You get a field goal in that mix and you probably cover. I think if Tennessee can get to 17, I have a shot.
There are bets, I think, kind of like this. Maybe you just kind of have to bet blindly because you're going to come out on top more than you're not. But logically, it probably doesn't look good on paper and makes sense and scares the crap out of you, like you said. But
all right. So the next
31 seems probable to me. Somewhere between 28 and 31 for the output for the Chiefs.
That could be.
So then you're saying Tennessee doesn't score more than 14.
Well, let me ask you this. If they score 31-38, then you're in a lot of trouble and you're under.
If it's 38-31, I don't see this Tennessee team scoring at most I think 14. I just think the Chiefs are going to get this game.
Well, 38.
So wait a
minute. 38
yeah.
14 equals.
I said between 28. I thought
you said 31 and 38.
He said 28 and 31, then he said 31 and 38. So here's if you're feeling like that, I think you should have taken Kansas City giving up the 12.5. You'd probably feel a little bit better than that under. But that's just my opinion on what you're saying.
Yeah,
we'll find out how it all plays out, right, on Sunday night.
Yeah.
The next game is the Jets and the Bills. I think this isn't you're going 4 on the under here with the Jets and the Bills. You're obviously counting on the Jets defense to contain that Bills offense and the Bills defense, which got better over the weekend with some trades.
At least
so you're counting on you're counting on Zach Wilson playing like Zach Wilson again.
Yeah, I think he learned. I think it was a couple of mistakes we haven't seen from him in a while. He forced some throws that were questionable last week. The Jets are home. It's kind of like a statement game for them in a sense. They want to show that we're the Jets. We had our struggles, but this is a divisional rivalry. The Jets always seem to get up for these divisional games against the Buffalo Bills, and we already know the Buffalo Bills are number 1 in the AFC in their passing efficiency and number 1 in their defensive efficiency. But the Jets are ranked 4th this year in their defensive pass ability. Defensive pass ability. I think they'll be able to slow down Buffalo enough that we don't see that explosive output in terms of points. So I think it'll be close, but I like the under this week. And I think in a battle in the trenches a little bit, and I see an under this game.
Yeah, I can see both defenses showing up, but I can also see, because Josh Allen is at time prone to make some mistakes. And as we saw from Zach Wilson last week, he's prone to make some mistakes too. So I think if both teams limit turnovers and the turnovers are 1 maybe for both sides, I think the game goes under. But if those turnovers start to pick up a little bit, the game could go over in a hurry. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the matchup, with Steven Diggs and Sauce Gardner and stuff like that. Jets do have a good secondary. I still have a hard time visioning they're going to stop Buffalo too much, but it could be interesting with this total. And Zach Wilson's got to stop throwing off his back leg. It wasn't really even the decision. It was the decisions, but it was just the throws. He's just got lazy and threw them off the back of his foot. He cannot be turned. If he turns it over, if he even throws 2 interceptions on Sunday, your under will be over because Buffalo will just run them out of the building quickly. So hopefully there's a different Zach Wilson this week. All
right. And then the Colts and the Patriots. That's borderline that number. For me, that number is any number under 40. 40 and a half is borderline that number for me, because you're just talking about each team. If they score 3 touchdowns each, 1 a quarter, you're in trouble. If there's a defensive touchdown, you're in trouble. The good thing about this is both offenses struggle a little bit. The rookie quarterback, I don't know if Sam Ellinger's not a rookie, but he's basically in his second start. No Jonathan Taylor, no Naheem Hines. He's gone too. So you're going to have Deion Jackson playing running back for the first time. Might not be a lot of chemistry on offense between Michael Pittman and Ellinger. So I can definitely see the Colts offense struggling. And then, Bill Belichick is one that will control the clock. So I think this one's going to be really close. What do you say, Sean?
Yeah, I would say, that number is, there are good bets with that number, but the problem with that number is, like you said, you're sweating no matter what. I mean, I just did it with the Connecticut game tonight. That number was 40 and it was 37, and real early it was 10-3, and you're already sweating because you're doing the math like you said. I will say, though, this was borderline for me to go with the Patriots against the spread, giving up the 6.5 because of Ellinger on the road against Bill Belichick, no Jonathan Taylor. So Colts are going to have a hard time scoring points. I'd be concerned, though, that the Patriots might have figured it out offensively, and they could win this game 35-7, and then Jarrett would lose on that. So,
but Belichick's really not that sort of offensive.
It's more about game management.
Yeah,
He'll
dink and duck his way down the field, eat up the clock. Just kind of control the clock, control field position, and then just kind of grind, and win. He's not gonna. If they're up, he'll definitely in the fourth quarter just trying to grind out the clock.
He is, but that offense they've been trying to figure out, and it showed a lot better last week. So if they get in rhythm quickly, there are games that the Patriots do, kill the opponent. So you'll be able to tell. This is one of those you'll be able to tell after the first quarter where you're headed with the under or over.
All right, Seahawks and the Cardinals. Does the year of Geno Smith continue, Mr. Sean? And does it look like, too, that Mr. Kyle Murray, despite the Call of Duty coming out, appears to be in tune right away with DeAndre Hopkins? They might get James Conner back, so perhaps the offense will be a little bit more electric. It was a little more electric last week. Seattle played a very good game. Well, they played an okay game.
It wasn't so much that Seattle played a good game. It was the turnovers the Giants created that gave them the points. Because the Giants were in it for a little while.
Dropping those two punts hurt.
The turnovers, the turnover. You lose the turnover battle, that you lose games.
But Seattle did play a good game because it wasn't their style. Their style is to go up and down the field, and they didn't have to go up and down the field. They got a couple touchdowns late. So I was actually impressed on how they won that. It wasn't their normal, hey, I can't stop.
I wasn't impressed, Sean. Because the Giants were down, what were they down? 13-17, and they were getting the ball back. And Richie James fumbles it, and they go in and out of short field and score a touchdown. To me, that's just a guy dropping a punt is not really a play. That's an error that the other guy makes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, if you're watching game 2, Tyler Lockett dropped a touchdown pass too, where it was on a dime, and they ended up having to punt or kick a field goal. So they left some points on the table too. There were, but so I'm on the fence here, and I hope I didn't pick the wrong one. I didn't want to go both. I wanted to go Seattle, and then I was like, you know what? If Seattle wins this game, it's going to be offensively.
That's the way I'm going this week.
It's going to be offensively. So I went the over because the Cardinals did figure it out, bringing, getting Hopkins back. They're getting a little bit more healthy. So as long as there isn't long drives with field goals, which sometimes that happens with the Cardinals, it should be over.
And then the other game, you have the Raiders and the Jaguars. So Sean is definitely experiencing a case of recency bias here because he's looking at that goose egg that the Raiders scored last week, and he's looking at that Jaguars offense. Who are the Jaguars anyway? The Jaguars.
The doggy. You should call that the doggy bowl because both teams are kind of playing in the toilet bowl right now. You cannot trust this Las Vegas Raiders team. They just stink. They stink on all facets of the game.
I feel week after week, the Raiders games are in that 45, 46 total, and their offense is not producing that. Now, saying that, you're going to see a total different Raiders offense, I'm sure, with all the stuff saying in the locker room and stuff like that. They're not going to get shut out. But the Jaguars offense is no good neither. And, I mean, remember a couple years ago, all this talk about Trevor Larson, there was not one person that would have ever said he was a bust. And it's too early to say he's a bust right now. It's too early. But he's starting. If he doesn't start figuring out this year and next year, then we can start with that.
Trevor Lawrence being a bust.
But sometimes
He did not.
sometimes a bad quarterback or a struggling quarterback can get, pushed aside at the fact that the defense is kind of carrying the guy. And that's what you got at Jacksonville. Flat out Jacksonville has a better defense than the Raiders. And it's going to show up this week. I don't know what the score is in this game. I don't want no part of this game. But if I had to go with a bet in this game, I would lean Jacksonville in this game.
I mean, to me, it's really a tough call. I got my sheet over here where we have everything in there. So let me see what I got on this in terms of the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Jaguars versus the Raiders. I have the Jaguars covering and the game going under, Sean. I have the total coming in at 42. So I'm kind of in agreement with you that the game goes on the under. It's almost a play for me at 5 points. Not quite there, but the line would have to come up a little bit more. So Carr's
burned you so many times, as you've explained to me. Derek Carr can't find the end zone. He just doesn't throw touchdowns.
Yeah, and he doesn't throw the ball to Devontae Adams either. What, he threw it to him 3 times last week? I mean, you're going to sign that guy to that big contract? Right about now, he and Aaron Rodgers got to be texting each other at night going, what the F were you thinking?
Well, and I would say, I don't know what the stats are for this week on a bet, but that's going to be a point this week to get him the ball.
Yeah, I would bet on, I don't know if there's an over-under on targets, but I would say double-digit targets for sure.
It's probably not targets, but there are
2.
completions.
The line was 2 or 3 last time I checked, but I could be wrong. I thought I saw it at 2.
Two targets to Devontae Adams?
No. I thought the line for the spread in this game was 2.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you found a line with Devontae Adams with 2 targets, I'm going to call the banker in the morning. Honey, we're selling the house. All right, next. For me, the Chargers and the Falcons, Sean, over 49. I do agree with you that the Chargers should come back from the break. I don't really think it matters that Keenan Allen's not playing. He's hardly played the last 2 years anyway. He's always got some problem with his foot. He's not as bad as Michael Thomas with his toe in terms of not being able to play. I do think that Joshua Palmer is looking all right on the outside as a substitute. Mike Williams is a big play guy that sometimes shows up, sometimes doesn't show up. So they'll just treat this like a game where Mike Williams didn't show up. I do think the offense still moves with Austin Eckler playing. And I do think they'll be able to put some points up on the Atlanta team. But at the same time, that defense does let up points from the Chargers side. So 49 is on that borderline. So once you get to 50, I start looking to, try to find reasons to go under. But I think these two teams can combine for 60.
60.
What do you think about that?
That definitely could happen. My 2 concerns and why I stayed away from that is because the Falcons like to run the ball. And they do usually score pretty quick when they're running good, but running the ball means the clock's moving. And the Chargers, it's that constant
field
goals or going for fourth or having this 10-minute drive and going for 4th down and coming up with 0 points, which is an absolute killer.
But the good thing about that is that coach is kind of crazy because he'll go for it on his own side of the field. So then at least Atlanta's going to get good field position on the other end.
Yeah, he's backed off a little bit this year because last year that cost them big time. So he backed off a little bit.
I don't know, dude. I watched some of their games and that dude's going for it a lot. I know that's what the statistics say. But the more he goes for it, the more he's tilting the statistics the other way.
I'm going to say 52, Rich, though. I'm going to say somewhere around 50-52 is what we're looking at this game. Maybe 30-20.
I'll take 50. 50 makes me a winner. All right, finally, the last 2 games. Jared going to take those Seahawks as a money line. We've gone over that game already. Both Jared and Sean think the Seahawks probably win this game, although Sean's taking the points.
It's over, yeah.
And then the Vikings being – what's kind of interesting to me about this line is I would really expect the Vikings to be a stronger, more money line than minus 160 against the Commanders.
Well, they're only giving up 3, right?
Yeah, but I would still expect them to be a stronger money line because I
think
in Washington. They might not cover the 3. Maybe they win by 2 or 3. But, I mean, if you asked 100 people who's going to win, the Vikings or the Commanders, 94 of them would probably say the Vikings.
So here's my question with the money line, and this might be who's that guy we bring on all the time that's the professional bettor, and we talk about him always saying take the points, Bill Krakenberger. To me, Jared, if you're the Vikings here, do you really envision the Vikings if they win, they're winning by 2.5 points?
I think a field goal is very respectable. Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the field goal range, 3 to 5. It's somewhere in that. If they come up with a safety, I mean, I'm right in the ballpark. But I can see this coming down to a late field goal. Time expiring, tick tick tick. Minnesota got to kick that field goal, put it through the uprights, put it in the books. Minnesota wins this game by probably about the margin of 3. It's going to be close.
Over here. Minnesota, I have them winning. I have them covering. I have the game going pretty well over as well, coming in at 49 points to over at 40, over under at 43.5. Another half a point down, 43. Then it would be very much on the radar to take the over in that spot for me, but not quite there. I usually look for a 7-point differential between my projected score. And only because I've gone through it in the past and seen, like, if I go under 7, the win rate drops a lot. If I go over 7 or above, it gets a lot less picks, but there are a lot more winners involved in that.
And I only have the parlay. I have a parlay bet on the side, so that's the only reason I'm going with the straight money line, because I felt like that was the easier way for me to play my parlay on DraftKings at a plus 428. So that's why I went with the money line. That's why I have it listed as money line, and that's why I'm going to put it out here on the show, because that's how I'm playing it.
Well, that's the way it works, man. You put your money where your mouth is, right? It's what they say.
Yeah.
All right. And so, as again, just a quick look at the results from from the year-to-date totals where we're at. So far, our picks have been profitable. $1,281 if you played them using $100 as the unit for the course of the year through 8 weeks. I don't think a lot of people can say that, Sean.
No, I guarantee. I mean, they'll say it, but I'm sure they don't have video to prove it.
Or they have the evidence, because another thing that we've done.
At least we're backing what we say. We're documenting it. All these guys can tout their picks all they want. We're putting the proof is in the pudding. We're showing you week to week what our output is.
Mm-hmm.
Show me another state.
We're also not selling them. We're giving them to you right here. We're explaining to you why we like them. So.
And then also there's a link down below in the description here on YouTube, and Sean puts it up over on our social media sites. I know it has nothing to do with football, because our primary source of degeneracy is absolutely horse racing, but we both like football in terms of, again, putting some money into it to take some money out of it. So you can check out that down there. So if you're not watching the show, or you got your phone, you want to look to see what we're playing this week, just go ahead and click on the link in the description. It'll take you to the Google sheet, and you'll see all of our picks throughout the entirety of the year and our wins and losses. We are definitely keeping track, because accountability is something that's important to us to hear. All right, gentlemen, that takes us through week 9 in the NFL. Any final thoughts before we let Jared get back to his counselor?
I got to see this Oregon State game tonight. That's what I'm looking forward to. Oregon State and Washington. I got Oregon State at +4. So if I hit that, I hit my parlay tonight. I've already gotten Duke on one side of it. So
I think the biggest game in college football this weekend is clearly Tennessee and Georgia on Saturday.
Georgia.
So if you're watching this on Sunday, it's a little bit too late. But if you're not watching it on Sunday, you're watching it on Saturday, or you're watching it on Friday night, or whenever it is you're watching it before. If you're going to play some college football, probably the place you want to go, absolutely the place you want to go, is to the Picks with the Professor. Not only will he have college football in there, but he'll also have the remaining 2 games in the major leagues for the World Series. And then on top of that, once college basketball kicks off, Professor Sides will let you know which college basketball games he likes. So make sure you head over to the description and to the link in the description below. That'll take you to Mr. Sides' YouTube page. When you're in there, watch the show. Make sure you hit up Mr. Sides in the comment section. Let him know what you think. And also, while you're here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends about us. And again, our full picks for the week look like this. Let me just bring them up one last time for our picks. There we go. And that's it, guys. Anything else?
Well, I'll say 2 things. On college football, I would take both dogs. Take Tennessee +8 and take LSU +13.5 versus Alabama. Take both of them. It should be good games. Maybe one of them wins.
Alabama, yes. I think on this. I don't know where to go on this Georgia Tennessee game. I think there's a lot of overhype.
They're playing in Georgia, right?
Yeah,
they're playing in Georgia, but Tennessee is very talented offensively.
I don't know. I think you got to go with an alternative spread here. I would probably go 7.5 on Georgia. Take an alternative spread of
So
7.5.
what is the spread?
It's
I
8.
think it was
8.
8.
So
I'd
you're
go
going to take
7.5.
half a point.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
think
if you're going to
be
do
8.
7, why wouldn't you go to alternate to have 6.5 so you don't get beat by the hook?
We would say it was the Hawaii's son, but
Yeah,
you were like this before you left.
But he had on SPF corpse while he was over there. Like I said, the only dude to go to Hawaii to come back paler than he left.
Then the other thing I'd say is, our first thing is horse racing and big day tomorrow. There was big day today with Breeders' Cup, big day tomorrow. So check out.
So
those
what happened
races
today?
Too.
Were we good today?
We had a good day today at the Breeders' Cup. So if you haven't done so yet, you can go over to Guaranteed Tip Sheet, pick up your picks for the Breeders' Cup tomorrow. We're all, to be honest with you, with these races, you got 14 horse fields, and all 14 horses are some of the best horses in the world. Any one of them can really win. So, they talk about splitting hairs. When you're looking at the Breeders' Cup field, you're really splitting molecules because there's really not a lot top and the bottom. So make sure you go over and check that out. And should be another really fantastic day of horse racing tomorrow at Keeneland. Those money pools will be deep, and hopefully they'll be profitable for us.
I hope so, for you guys' sake. It's a tough track, man. It can be your best friend, and it could be a real bitch. So
especially when you have 14 really high quality horses, and any one of them can win. And the crazy thing about Friday is Future Stars Day. So they're all 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
So not only are they all good, but they're also like highly unpredictable. So you just don't know what's going to happen. So tomorrow you get a little bit more in terms of the older horses. I think you might have a better understanding of how they might run, and which could. One other final thing too. One other note of interest today to me. When we had Matt Carruthers, you remember this, Sean? He had mentioned that when they have these big days like they had at the Breeders' Cup, usually they soup the track up. That was his words, like 1980s term for cars, and they make them fast, which really gives an emphasis to the speed horses. That really wasn't in play today at Keeneland.
Today was completely fair. We saw 1 or 2 get away, and then you saw one come from completely far back, and then you saw others, that are mid-pack. So I thought today, out of big race days, I thought it played pretty fair.
I think it totally favored horses off the pace.
On the grass too?
Both places. You had, I think, if I looked through, I think there were 10 races today. I think you had 2 races out of 10 were horses that got to the front win. I think the other 8, they were all horses that came from off the pace.
So it's early speed.
80%. No, it's. I think it's stalkers.
No,
I think you can.
But some of that you got to go by the horse too, and who's out front and stuff. I think it played fair. As long as you see a couple horses win up front, a couple horses win from mid pack, and a couple horses win deep late. I'm 2 out of 10 doesn't.
It depends on who the horses are, Sean. To me.
So when you say fair,
if the horse that wins, that gets to the front and wins is the favorite, I don't think that tells me that's a speed bias. That tells me that's the best horse. But if I see a bunch of bombs coming, and that's what we got a good lot of prices today, and if the prices are coming in are long, and they're all coming from off the pace, and the better horses that are supposed to be the speed horses, the favorites, aren't holding up. To me, then you have an off-track bias. Now, if all the horses that were coming from off the pace were the favorites in winning, right, then I would say, yeah, it was definitely a.
If you watch the races today, I just thought if you had a favorably paced setup like the 2 did with Next, that horse went wire to wire, didn't have much pressure. If you had pressure, the back came. That's where I'm saying the track's fair. I don't think anything had to do with the track. It had to do with more of the horses and the pace setup. It had nothing to do with the track favoring closers or speed is how I looked at it.
Yeah, I just saw a lot of speed hanging at the end, though. Like they were just not – they were able to finish second or third. They just weren't able to close the deal. And a lot of those horses at the end were able to come up and get them at the wire. And I also felt like there was a couple interesting rides. I know Mike Smith is a good friend of the show, but I feel like in that last race, he picked the wrong path.
Yeah, he got boxed in. Yeah, he picked the wrong path, and then the 4 horse
opened the door for the 4 and the
4 horse took it. Yeah, the 4 horse took it, and then he was even that much worse shape. So, but yeah, it did look like he was bloated.
But he also made space for the 1 to get through, which ended up winning that race at the wire.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that was a. And then that one came from off the pace too. So
is that one tomorrow with Life is Good? Life is Good and Flightline. That's tomorrow, right?
That's the classic. Yes, the very
That's
last, second to last race on the card. Yep, it's the last of the Breeders' Cup races.
Yeah.
I kind of looked through that again, and we had that with Tom and Charles. Who's going to win? Yes or no? On paper, at front, it looks like Life is Good has a shot. Then when I dug through the numbers even more, Flightline has such a significant advantage over everybody pace-wise at the 6 furlong marker. I think he has a chance to be 3, 4, 5 furlongs ahead. 3, 4, 5 lengths ahead of everybody after 3/4.
He's got a terrific gallop out. He's got terrific gallop out in those works.
If he's 3 to 4 lengths in front of everybody, that's where he wants to be. And I think it'll be really, really hard to run him down. And if that's the case, Life is Good has not been behind people. And if he does get behind people, I wouldn't be surprised to see him fold. And then, of course, our good friend Kylie Jordan, she had her first mount today. She was on the lead for a little while. And, I was just like, come on, girl, let's go.
Good old Kylie. Yeah. Good old Kylie was money at Turfway. Turf Paradise. She's a great rider.
Luckily, she had to pull Tyler's Tribe up. Luckily, everything's okay with Tyler's Tribe. It was more those they don't get Lasix on those races, and it probably prevents the issue if the horse was able to get Lasix. But it was, some kind of breathing issue. So the horse was vanned off, so it was a little scary, but everything's fine with the horse. Just needs some time off now. So both returned safely, which is always the first thing that needs to happen. So,
well, she's going to have a lot more rides. She's definitely got superstar written on her, and I think you'll see her. Girl's only 20 years old, so she'll have many, many, many more opportunities to show up in big races like that. And I'm certain that there'll be a time where she's carrying roses or lifting some of those big money trophies. And good luck to her. She's a good friend of the show, and we certainly wish nothing but the best. And another good friend of the show tomorrow, Chantel Sutherland, is on Willie Boy. So good luck to you, Chantel. Hopefully you find your way to the winner's circle on Willie Boy. And then, of course, everybody else who's a friend of the show, we hope you do pretty well, too.
Yeah, Mike Smith's in the Classic, too, with Tabia, and Tabia's been really racing well. So that's another dynamic there. So,
well, a lot of people think Tabia is going to put the heat on Life is Good.
Yeah.
So we'll find out what happens. Those California horses have struggled in California horses have struggled at Keeneland, and on top of that, you have I think
watch those Kentucky Down shippers.
And then you have the European horses have been dominating on the grass. So I think go European on the grass and maybe New York, Kentucky on the dirt, and you probably come out all right.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that wraps up our Breeders' Cup preview with football picks wrapped in. We hope that whether you're betting the NFL on Sunday, you're taking Sean's advice and going against Georgia and against Alabama, which I think is a sort of NCAA kamikaze type betting. But go ahead.
Yeah, bet it at your peril, at your own peril. That's all I gotta say. Bet it at your own peril.
I think you bet both of them to win too, and one of them wins, and they're both plus. So you'll make out if you do that.
Yes, indeed. If one wins and they're both plus lines, you're right. Then you make a profit. But if they both get hammered, then Sean didn't tell you. All right, guys. We hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Keep an eye if you're doing horse racing. Sean will have an announcement tomorrow what our plans are for the Horse Racing Today crew for the Breeders' Cup Day 2. Keep an eye on Horse Race Today, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell on YouTube. A little bit of a hint. We'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, Until then, we hope everybody, your weekend, your picks, NFL, college football, even if you're picking Sean's picks, they all end up in the
end zone, baby.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Boys.